Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Halloween's over. What's up? What's up? What's up? Happy Friday, everybody. How's everybody
Your
doing today?
your costume was great yesterday. Got a lot of
Yeah.
run on that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I went full Patrick Bateman. I had the business cards, as if you watched here, I showed it to you because I wore it. And so when I went out last night with my kids to go trick-or-treating, anybody who knew who that was, I showed them the business card. So you had to like earn to see the business card. That I went full throttle and went all in, but you had to know who you were looking at to get it.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. Did you really go all out though if you didn't have like a Bluetooth speaker blasting Huey Lewis in the news? I feel like
It's true.
that should have been a move.
Could have. That's true. What yeah, just walk around the street with it. I
Yeah,
needed an
and
axe too. I mean, I really needed an axe, but
then the axe coat hanger. I mean,
didn't
there's
feel like doing
lot of
that.
ways you could go there. Yeah.
You know what's the best part about this weekend? You want to know what the best part is about this weekend? Because we watch sports, we see commercials. And this is it. Like, this is the last weekend of the worst political season ever. And hopefully the worst political season of our collective lives. Because I don't care who you vote for. This has spun out of control where I'm just trying to watch the World Series, guys. And every time they go in between innings, it's something about some person who's 5 genders who eats cats. And then the other person's ad comes on and they tell me this guy is Hitler, Stalin, and Genghis Khan all in one. And I can't take it anymore. It's like, can I watch an ad for Budweiser? Like, can we go back to the good old days where you showed me blue jeans, beer, and cars? Because this is too much. All right. I'm done with it. And so let's all congratulate ourselves for getting through, because we're the only people that watch commercials anymore, except for the old people that watch Fox News. And those commercials have been demented forever. But like, we're not used to the demented commercials. We have fun commercials. We're having a good time over here. We're trying to get drunk and watch sports. We're not trying to find a pillow from Satan. Like, that's not what we're looking for. Okay. So I can't wait for this election to be over. Either way, I just can't wait for it to be over because it's just too much. Every day is too much. And now the ads are too much. Like, political ads are political ads until they're these, which are hellscape version of the world. And if you pick the other side, we're all going to die in a fiery hell. No, I want to jump on the fiery table at the Bills game. That's it. Okay. That's it. That's it. So I'd like to congratulate all of us, especially us sports people who really just want to stick to sports. We're going to get our sports back and away from this nonsense that's been going on.
It's twofold here too. Remember, Twitter was always the best before politics got in. Like Twitter, and also sports Twitter is going to exist after everyone else leaves Twitter too. Like we're the cockroaches when it comes to that.
Can't we just get Caleb's dad's tweets
Yes,
today?
that's right.
Can't we go back to the days, the good old days that feel like yesteryear where Kevin Durant had a burner? Like, can't we just do that again? Because the rest of this is driving me and everybody I know nuts. Just nuts.
The other side of that too is it's like I'm pretty sure you're not swaying anybody at this point. Like I just don't think you are. I don't think we're in that world anymore. Like I don't know why it seems worth spending the amount of money that it is when I don't think you're going to flip anybody on a 30-second commercial anymore.
You can't, but I mean, like, as we learned, you could piss off every Puerto Rican. Like, you could do that last minute. Like, you could, like, that's a possibility.
Yeah,
we've
right.
seen this. In sports, we lead the charge on all of it. It takes one bad press conference, guys. That's all it takes. Really, one bad press conference, and everything changes for you. Like Matt Eberflus, that play to Terry McLaurin did matter. Why are you telling people it didn't? It did. It's undermining your credibility, and you know it. So I'm just glad we're going to get back. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be over because whoever loses is going to scream and yell that the election was rigged. So that's going to go on for however long that's going to go on for. But, I wish we would take the sports' lead. Yes, Spygate happened, but the score of the Super Bowl was what it was. The Patriots won. Can we all just move on now?
Right. The other side of all this too is, I don't know about your guys' broadcast, but on the Caps broadcast, they are running political ads, and that's the first time in 9 years that I've heard that. So I don't really care. Like, you spend your money, but there are 60-second ads on that broadcast that I won't even say who it is, but there are political ads. And I'm like, yeah. I've never heard that in my life before. I guess the getting's good if people are paying for that during sports radio broadcasts, because I don't know if I've heard that. Again,
it's to your point. They believe that there are a section of people that haven't made their mind up yet. And if you haven't, you have literally lived under a rock. Like, I don't care which direction you're going in, but if you're like, I'm just not sure.
Let me turn on the Caps broadcast.
You actually shouldn't be allowed to vote, because I think there's a cutoff on this one. If you haven't made your mind up about these two by, I don't know, let's say August 1, I don't know how in the world what are you pondering right now? What issue or what is it that you're pondering? And I like all the political stuff because it's funny, and I listen to a lot of it, and there are a lot of people that at least get cited on these podcasts and shows that are the quote unquote undecided people. Undecided about what? Like, you haven't picked a side in this one? Like, come on. Like, well, you got to be kidding right now.
The game hasn't really changed in 4 years. So yeah, I don't really know what you're waiting on.
We're here now. Marvel Endgame, guys. We're going to find out which direction we're going. Thanos, or I'm not even sure what the other side is.
Watch it there. Watch it.
Yeah. That's an amoeba. I don't know what the other side is, and that's their point, and I hear them on that. Or it's Thanos, and Thanos might ruin the world. So I don't know. Like, it could go either way. We'll find out. All right. So as for us, is the hangover over? I think so. Okay. I think so. I think we're over the Hail Mary. I'll be very interested to speak to Dan Quinn and the players today, because this is the light appearance of the media. We get to have a little more time with them. I get to talk to the coach for the broadcast, and I know what he's going to say, but I'm like, I got to read his body language on it. Are they over it? Because this one's different. Like, when they beat Cincinnati in that crazy finish, that wasn't a Hail Mary, but it was darn close to it. That play to McLaurin, and it was kind of the coming out party, and it was the beginning. I wondered, how are they going to play the following week? Will they get over it? And they answered that. Then when they had their first big loss to Baltimore, a lot of buildup, Lamar versus Jaden. Everybody's all psyched to see this. Let's see what level they're really on. And they lost, and it was lopsided. I mean, the score wasn't, but it really was. And they lost. How are they going to get over the first big loss? Answered that. Played a weak team, but killed them, right? Killed them with their backup quarterback mainly. So now here comes this one's a little different. Like, I'm sorry, but that was a life-changing event. If you are involved in this sport, that is something that will live on forever, whatever role you have. The call we had is going to be played a million times until the end of time. Any player who was on that field is never going to forget that. Every player anybody who's in that stadium is never going to forget that. Anybody who watched it on TV and didn't turn it off is never going to forget that. This one is a tough one to shake. So let's just see. Let's see. And I do appreciate that it's, no offense to the Giants, not any of the next three opponents, Pittsburgh, Philly, or Dallas, because I think those are playoff-ish teams more than the Giants are. And I would be a little more scared that, like, the hangover, whether it's a hangover or not, it's a tough one to get over against an opponent like that. This week, I think the schedule is friendly enough that it's going to be about a little bit about the hangover this weekend.
Yeah, I would say it's over now, especially with who's left to ask about it, right? Like, you had Cliff and Joe Witt Jr. finally get asked about it yesterday, and they both had, their unique perspectives on it and everything else.
Great. He watched it on TV like the rest of us.
It's right.
Was amazing. Yeah,
exactly. And so, I think that was it. Those are the last stones, unturned that we needed to hear about, and important stones. Don't get me wrong. And I think, I don't know, Jaden kind of set the tone for me on Wednesday, where he was like, it was just another week. And I was like, all right, dude, we all know that's a lie, but at least you're saying it out loud, So I don't know. I don't know,
man.
Tone.
I went streaking. I don't normally do that, but okay. You think so.
Right. Only everybody in the world is watching that highlight a million times.
Yeah.
I don't think your world is normal this week, but I appreciate
Can you
that.
be too cool? Because in this case, you're acting a little too cool for me.
Right, exactly. And so I will say that, like, I think he tried to set the tone back to it on Wednesday. And then I'm with you. As far as opponent goes, this is a good opponent to have on a week that they've had where they should be able to show up and beat the Giants. And in fact, with this team now, we've seen them demonstrate it before where, they play the Browns, right? And it took them a quarter to get going. And then when they got going, they basically played 2 quarters, and that's all they needed to beat the Browns, right? So you kind of hope that they get a little bit of that. Even if they have a slow start, it only takes them a little bit to get going, and they run it up fast.
Okay, so I haven't done this in a while. Like Carolina, I was not concerned. I came off of that after watching, going, I know we're going to win. It's just by a matter of how much. And like, yes, they have to get over this Ravens loss, but like, I think this is the better team by a lot. This week, the Giants are in every game they play. Like, they're very physical, especially on defense. And so I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily nervous about it, but I think there should be a little less confidence that I'm hearing out of everybody, because I think it's based on the record, and they've seen Daniel Jones throw a bunch of interceptions, and I'm hoping that happens again. But defensively, especially up front, this is like the best trio that we're going to face up front. The metrics show it. The eye test shows it too. They can make a lot happen. So this is a road division game. I know their season's kind of over, but it's not over. See the Jets last night. They play really hard. That game against Pittsburgh was tied in the second half before a punt return was taken back for a touchdown, which is something I want to bring up. You're going to see this over and over with them. Their return units aren't very solid. I mean, their coverage units aren't very solid. It's actually a number of weeks you've seen holes like that. So I'm hoping we catch a break like that with either Zacchaeus or Eckler on a kickoff or a punt return, because they're very loose on their coverages. So that could be a break. But I'm telling you what, they're their own worst enemy on offense. But defensively, especially in passing downs, they're really dangerous. Like, they're super hard to block, really quick, very dangerous. And so that gives me a little more concern about this and less of the, oh, I'm so glad we're playing that 2-6 team off the Hail Mary, because we're just going to go up there and win. And I don't really see it that way. I'm confident Washington go up there and win for sure. I think this game's close. Like, unless the Giants throw up on themselves, like and they do on offense sometimes. But if they don't, I got a funny feeling this score is going to look a lot like that one last week. 21-17, 19-14, like something like that. Like, that actually really wouldn't surprise me this weekend.
I think it was Quinn that said earlier this week that he was basically treating it as like a 5-quarter game, that you're going to have to like grind it out against this team. And you and I have talked about it, though. Daboll's a good coach. They just don't have the players on offense to execute that offense. Like, that's where we're at this point. And so it does fall apart on them. I'm with you. I think it's going to be close, but I also just say that because it's a divisional game. I'm not even saying that because of the record.
Yeah.
These games are always usually kind of close. Yes, they should have probably scored a little bit more the last time around, but who knows if they don't get 5 or 6 red zone trips again, what that score looks like.
I really like Daboll too. So I want to say this up front, just in case this clip goes around. I think in general think he's a very good coach. And I've kind of felt that way for a while now, probably off of that first year where they kind of overachieved and made the playoffs. But I got to tell you, like, it's hard to call a really well-coached team when they're their own worst enemy, like week after week after week. It's a lot of penalties, aforementioned mistakes on special teams. Like, they get in their own way a lot. And I do think that some of that is their offensive line breaks down, or Jones holds the ball too long. And I'll hear everybody on stuff like that, and they have to execute. I'll hear everybody on stuff like that. But even in that Pittsburgh game, Malik Neighbors was called for an illegal shift because he just didn't come to a stop. They didn't block or set up. Like, they went one-on-one with a tight end on TJ Watt in like a critical game defining moment. Like, they have a lot of penalties that erase stuff. They had a touchdown pulled off the board because of a penalty. We did too last week, but they did the week before too. Like, they're not exactly buttoned up. So while I do on the whole, I agree, and I've said this for a while, I think he's a very good coach. This year, they are their own worst enemy. I mean, that's why their record is what it is. They could easily be 4-4, something like that. Like, easily they could be like 4-4, but they're not. And I honestly think it's because of the mistakes they make. So, is that coaching? I don't know. Is that execution? I don't know. But they're not buttoned up for sure. And it's their mistakes that lose games. And that's what I'm counting on this weekend. They make more mistakes than us, and we end up winning because of it.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's just about ascending and descending, right? Like, this team has been ascending for pretty much every week except for that Ravens game. They've done something different. They've done something better, whether that's on offense or defense. And the Giants just are the Giants, though. They're middling is the definition for the Giants this year. So I also think there's some truth to that. This team continually every week is breaking some record from, the franchise's history. And that one is wondering, when are they going to get rid of Daniel Jones, right? It's totally different feel.
Next year.
Yeah, right.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
For me, the game's going to be one in the trenches on both sides. I'll go through both of them really quickly. So the Giants lost Andrew Thomas. The left tackle is a problem for them. I've been a touch surprised considering how much money they put into the offensive line. And I even said this to Anita Marks the other day when she came on the show. I said, I'll hear you on losing Andrew Thomas is a really, really big deal. Like, you'll lose a Pro Bowl tackle. Like, yeah, I'll hear you. That's like irreplaceable type of person. But you guys spent so much money in free agency on a right tackle, a left guard. You've drafted your center. Like, I actually kind of don't. You have a top 10 pick that doesn't play. Okay. Like, I actually kind of don't want to hear it that your offensive line is, it's always our offensive line. You guys spent a lot of money, a lot of assets on it. That's kind of on you that they're not good. So, but they're not. And part of this is Jones. He holds the ball way, way, way too long. If you take away, we saw this in the first game with him. In rhythm, he's really good. And in fact, I'll reiterate, this same stat is still true as it was in week 2 as it is now. And nobody believes it when I tell them this. He has the highest career passer rating of any Giants quarterback ever. Ever.
Crazy.
Higher than Eli. Okay. Higher than Phil Simms. Higher than, for the old people, Y.A. Tittle. He has the highest passer rating ever in Giants history. But if you take away read one from him, it gets real shaky, real fast. Most of the time, he just doesn't get rid of the ball and takes a sack. And other times, when the pressure gets ramped up, he's chucking it to you. So you can't have him in rhythm. And I know that's easier said than done, but I would advocate you bring a lot of pressure on this guy. And I know Neighbors lit us up the first time, and he's going to light up a lot of people in his career. He's great. But I think you take your chances with that, because the opportunity rises when he's shaking and moving a little bit. In rhythm, he's excellent. But when he's not, it's who knows? It's the political ad spectrum of you never know what you're going to get with him.
I'm glad Anita brought it up on your show, though, because I've been wondering this throughout the entire year. Besides the one read thing, why hasn't he been using his legs? I don't understand that.
So they do with him on all short yardage stuff. They do a lot of the sneaks. They also do design draws with him. Okay. But what they don't do with him, which he was great at, which I don't know why they don't do this, he was an expert at that zone, really good at the fakes, keeping it, and he's fast. They don't do that anymore. They'll do at least 2 to 3 design quarterback draw runs. You'll see it. They do it every week.
It makes no sense to me. That's when he gashed this team. Like, I remember he had the one on the Thursday night against the Commanders where he ripped it off for like 60 or 70 yards or whatever it was. That baffles me, because that was always the extra factor with him too, was I was never afraid of his arm. I was afraid of him pulling that option and all of a sudden ripping one. It's so weird that they're not using that with him this year.
Bobby Wagner's really coming on. Bobby Wagner's presence was really felt in that Chicago game. Joe Witt revealed yesterday that he made 4 calls on his own of defensive plays, like didn't even take the call from the coordinator. That's not a surprise considering who he is. He's really coming on. His physicality was felt. This is someone that I expect to have a massive impact in this game for a couple of reasons. When Jones wants to get rid of the ball a lot, it typically is underneath either to this tight end Theo Johnson or Wan'Dale Robinson, who they didn't really use very much in the first game. That's in his part of the field. Secondarily, these timed up blitzes with this offensive line that can't quite get its structure right, I think you're going to feel him. I predict Wagner has a big game here, not just tackle-wise, but game-changing type plays. Sacks, hopefully a fumble, interception, something like that. But I think he's going to have a big one this weekend.
No, this is just a game in general. I think the whole defense, the momentum is going to continue to carry them to a better ranking. Not only Wagner, I think Quan Martin was really good last game too. Like I look for him to continue to have a really good, season. So yeah, this is ascending defense against a descending offense.
Other side of the ball. This is why I think it's going to be close. This is number one, I think, this week. How is our O-line holding up? So Cornelius Lucas didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, so I'm going to work on the assumption that, the injury he suffered last week is going to keep him out this week. I don't know that. I won't know that till later today, but it's heading that way. Brandon Coleman is back. This is off of a missed game. He's going to have to play the whole game, and he's going to get tested. Big time, right? Big time tested. Second time he's been hurt in his rookie season, missed time. So let's see. Tyler Biadasz been outstanding this year, has protective device on his thumb now, has to block best defensive tackle in the game, Dexter Lawrence. Nick Allegretti's been fighting through stuff, right? Been really fighting through stuff like an ankle injury. He's going to be dealing. Andrew Wiley, the one thing he does not deal with very well, we learned this the hard way, is speed rushers on the outside. That's Burns and Ojulari. So this is why I'm telling you, Jaden's going to have to be on point today. And I mean, Sunday, he's got to get rid of the ball fast. I advocate they run the ball a lot. I don't think you want to get in any kind of third and long situations with these guys. This is the best, in my opinion, the best frontline trio we have faced this year. And I'm not even sure that it's close. Like Burns has really come on. In the first matchup, I found it really odd that the Giants in week one dropped him off the line a ton back into coverage. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's good at that, but I know what he's really actually good at. They're not doing that anymore. He's up at the point of attack, chasing the passer, and it's really coming on for him. They don't miss Thibodeau for a second. Ojulari's got 5 or 6 sacks already in the last 3-4 weeks. He's like Hassan Reddick. He gets leverage on you. He is fast, and he's right on top of your quarterback. And Dexter Lawrence, and don't blame me. This was in the NFL notes. Dexter Lawrence leads the NFL in sacks. If he ends up leading the NFL in sacks for the whole season, he will become, as listed, the heaviest person ever to lead the NFL in sacks. He's listed at 340 pounds. He is dominant. The three of them collectively are dominant. You do not want to be in third and longs with these guys. You do not. It's a disaster waiting to happen. I trust Jaden with the ball. He doesn't seem to put it in the wrong place. They have 3 turnovers the whole year. That's the best in the NFL, tied with Buffalo. But you don't want to play with fire with these guys. These guys do one thing really, really, really well, and that group of their front are elite. So this is why I got concerned this weekend. We have an offensive line that's a little banged up. We're coming off a hangover. The last 4 teams, the NFL said this too, the last 4 teams that won on a Hail Mary lost the next week. We have a defense that I trust here. I trust that we're going to be in this game. I have a feeling we're in another, bite your fingernail situation late in the game. And I'm hoping that the Giants do what the Giants have done all year. They're their own worst enemy. They make more mistakes than we do. And at critical junctures, maybe give us the ball a couple times and we get out of Dodge with another win. That's what I'm hoping for.
No, I mean, I fully expected a closer game, mainly because it's going to be a divisional matchup with the way that the Giants rush too. I want to see how they handle Jaden, seeing him a second time, because that week 2 was the first time we really got a glimpse too of Jaden doing the whole roll out, take a pause. I dare you to come at me. And then when you do, I'm going to run by you faster than you can even touch me. So I wonder too, I want to see what their approach with him is this second time around, not only schematically wise, but how some of those players react to him as well. I'm interested to see how that happens. That's the other factor here, why it's going to be close, though. It's the first time we have a team playing him for the second time in a row. And you know how the NFL works. The book starts to get out a little bit.
Last little thing, because we have these historic notes every single week, and I saw this one, and this one freaked me out too. And granted, it would only in general be a division team where this could possibly happen. But since 1950, no rookie quarterback has beaten them twice in the same year, ever.
Wow.
So granted, they only play the same few teams twice in a year, with an exception of some rookie would have had to play them in the season and in the playoffs. So that would be unbelievably rare that happened. So it has to be Commander, Cowboy, or Eagle that would have done it, but it's never happened. So that was another one where I went, all right. And I mean, I think this game's close. I'm just hoping they do what they've done. They make more mistakes, kind of like the Bears. The Bears made too many mistakes. We let them stay in the game by not executing in the red zone. And that's an interesting thing that happened in week 2 against the Giants. But I have a feeling this one's close too. And I hope we just get out of Dodge. 21-17, something like that. 19-16. I'll take it. I don't even care what it is. A win's a win's a win. Remember that. It doesn't have to be style points this week. A win's a win's a win. All right, let me take a quick break. We're watching the show. ESPN 630 in Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Let's go through the rest of the NFL for this weekend. I don't think the boys will like that when they play Atlanta this weekend. Let's see. Trayvon Diggs didn't make up with the reporter, and they you saw that they were sharing packs of D's nuts after the whatever happened after the last game. I didn't hear anything about Jerry's weird sports radio interview, so nothing must have weird happened there. On social media, Diggs went on Micah Parsons' podcast and named his top 10 quarterbacks, and they failed to name Dak Prescott as one of them. So they continue to spiral down the weird path of, you guys realize you guys are like punking yourselves over and over and over and over. And I don't love their defense this year. I think Kirk's going to light them up. So even if Dallas has a bounce back week with Dak offensively, I don't think they score enough to win this game.
I wish you could have seen my face when I was looking at the schedule earlier this week and I saw Falcons Cowboys. I scoffed at it because I don't trust either one of these teams either. Like the Falcons are not as untrustworthy as the Saints are, but I just don't know who I'm getting week to week now. Like it doesn't even matter if it's home or away. And then they're hosting the Cowboys, who you literally can't trust right now. I'm going to pull a U here. Pass. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I agree with you. That's a total pass. Yeah. I agree with you. But for the purpose of, since we're not doing the Oracle anymore,
I know.
I will pick Atlanta just outscore Dallas. This is probably a high scoring game, actually. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised 1st to 30 wins this one, actually.
I'll just do this. Every time I have believed in Dallas, they lose. So give me Dallas to beat Atlanta this week.
Let's see. We've got flaming tables versus hot garbage today. Up in Buffalo, you get the Bills and you get the Dolphins that just went sideways. That's inexplicable that they got Tua back and lost at home. The Bills are, I thought they'd have a reset year. I think maybe this is partially their division has been so bad. 2 of the teams shouldn't have been, Miami and the Jets. I mean, the Patriots were predictable, but these 2 being as bad as they are, I think is a bit of a surprise. So they got this big cushion, not unlike the Commanders-Giants game. I wouldn't just assume that this is a blowout because the games between those 2 teams have actually been very close in recent years, but the Bills are just kind of scoring a little too much and the Dolphins remain unpredictable at this point. So if this score is close, that wouldn't surprise me, but I do expect Buffalo to win 27-21, something like that.
I think Buffalo is going to win this running away. I think it's going to be a blowout. And I think we really need to start asking questions about Mike McDaniel. I mean, I finally turned the corner and liked him. It took me 2 years to actually go, you know what? I like that guy. But it's to one of your theories. They brought in a backup quarterback. It was Skylar Thompson for 5 seconds. And they brought in Snoop Huntley off the practice squad and had him start right away. To me, why didn't you have your boy ready? And then when they were both out there, they both sucked. Not just were bad, they were terrible. you know how this works now. If you can't keep it afloat when your quarterback goes out, and by the way, Tua's hurt all the time. I'm just saying, like, I'm out. I'm out. If all of a sudden, if it hinges on the one quarterback that needs to be in that also has concussion problems now.
You know, I always go, the ultimate test is, can you envision this person holding up the Super Bowl trophy? And I think if your answer is no, then you're probably right. And early, I'm like, I can't see it with him, but he sold me after a couple of years. I'm like, you know what? Maybe. And then he showed up with this Miami hairdo that he got this year. That's like this weird curl from 1980. Like he's hanging out in Scarface's house. Like, I don't know, man. Like that one turned on me too. And maybe the team is just kind of being like, you know what? He's kind of out these days. I don't know. So
yeah, I don't believe in them. I think Buffalo wins this one. Like, give me 31-17. They win this one outright.
Got a bunch of red zone specials this week. We got Cincinnati Raiders. Cincinnati, sorry guys, y'all fall in that category now. Like, it's so funny. I'm not going to tell you who. I'll just reiterate. Before the week 3 game, I got into it with a prominent reporter here who's just trying to tell me how great Cincinnati is. And I'm like, you haven't watched them play and you're not looking at their roster. They're not that good. I think Burrow's outstanding. I think Chase is outstanding. I think Higgins coming back makes them, that's a prolific trio. But go look at the rest of it. Like, the rest of it is not pretty. Like, their defense will be okay, but they don't have prominent playmakers, but they'll be okay. I trust that defensive coordinator. They have no run game. Like, I'm sorry, they're not good. Like, they're average. Burrow's going to have to play way even above what he's accustomed to get them to a point where they win consistently. And the Raiders, well, they're a mess. So that's a red zone special. I would expect Cincinnati to win, but who knows? The Raiders were very competitive last week against Kansas City. Chargers, no offense, Harbaugh, I'm not buying in yet. You guys seem really boring. They take on Jameis, whatever. Let me know how that goes. New England, Tennessee, and New Orleans, Carolina. Oh, God, that's action. I'm out. I'm out on all of that.
Somehow Tennessee is favored against the Patriots, by the way. It's like, I think it's like 2.5, but I'm like,
well, that is, if you're betting on that, you're a crazy person.
I'm just
how
saying,
do you know what's going to happen? What do you like? How would you possibly even have an idea of what's going to happen in that game?
One of those teams is coming off a big win. The other one, I don't know who starts a quarterback, but they both suck. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
That's
that one's a weird
Mason
one.
Rudolph. You like him?
God,
we had conversations about him in the past.
That's my least favorite quarterback room in the league, I think.
Speaking of, I can't wait to get rid of the political ads, Mason Rudolph.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, man. All right, so there's those. Okay. Here's an interesting one. One, is Lamar okay? Because that's the biggest question here. That's just not the same team. If he's not going to play, he's kind of irreplaceable. And he didn't practice much this week. So I don't know what's going on up there, but we got to find out. And then there's this, which is Denver's won a couple of these already, which has surprised me, but they have. Truth is the truth. They went to Tampa before those guys got injured, and they killed Tampa Bay. They're the only team to do that this year. So do they got another one of these in them? Probably part of that is going to be about Lamar's health. I do trust their defense will keep them in the game. I don't trust Bo Nix to do enough against them to win. But if Lamar's messed up, well, all bets are off. So this is one of those pass for sure. I would pick Baltimore on the assumption that Lamar's okay. But if he's not healthy or whatever, this one might have a surprise ending to it.
This one, I hear everything you're saying, but I would listen to most of it if I didn't know what happened last week. They lost to the Browns last week, and I heard the locker room was like silent. Like, they knew how much they effed up last week losing to Cleveland. This is where if you're the Broncos, you're like, oh God, like, why did they have to lose that game last week? I think they're going to come out and they're going to kill them. Like, I think we've seen this enough in the NFL where
if Lamar's okay.
I even think if Lamar's not okay, I don't know. They have that dude, Derrick Henry, that can also run the ball pretty damn well. I think they win a close game if Lamar isn't going. And if Lamar is going, I don't think it's close. Like, I think this is one of those teams where they realize they screwed up and they're not going to let this team catch them by surprise.
One day, these guys are going to be best friends because they're going to have a lot in common. Dougie P versus Nikki S. they have a lot. They're going to have a lot in common. Eagles coaches who succeeded at extremely high levels, but then didn't last very long after it. I like Philadelphia here this weekend because Jacksonville seems to have checked out of the whole thing this year. And the Eagles seem to have like kind of turned things around, and their roster's just kind of too good to lose this game. So I like Philadelphia. Like the next 5 weeks, we'll probably start talking about this next week. Their schedule's very tough. So is Washington's. Like we're starting a gauntlet. This Giants game goes into the Pittsburgh game, short week, Philadelphia, then Dallas. We get through that at or near the top of the division. Well, it's on for December because we got games with Tennessee and New Orleans and then a Philadelphia rematch that'll probably be the telling tale. Philadelphia's schedule, which I can't remember off the top of my head, is very hard after this one for the next few weeks, including the game against Washington. So the gauntlet begins for both of them to kind of find out where the positioning is going to be. In this case, I can't see Jacksonville winning. I hope they do, but I can't see it.
No, Eagles win this. I'm actually off. I think Nick Sirianni has played himself off of the warm seat. Like, I think he's firmly okay right now.
For this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's just for this year. They flame out again for whatever reason. He won't be back next year.
100%. But they played so well the last couple of weeks that I'm starting to believe in them. And guess what? They're starting to default, go to Barkley, which is what they always should have done. And yeah, this is one where one team is checked out, the other one is not. And I think the Eagles are now starting to kind of pick themselves up a little bit here. You're starting to see that offense click a little bit more, mainly because they're taking the ball out of Hurts' hands a little bit more too, which is fine. Whatever helps you win. But yeah, you know me too. Big Jags hater over here. The biggest Jags hater over here. So the fact that they're about to go up against the buzzsaw, I don't know. I would like them to beat the Eagles, but at the same time, best Jags team ever, guys, is about to get killed. So
you should have a shirt that says Jags hater. That's a good one. That's a really good one.
I hate everything about them right now. I don't like Trev. I don't like Dougie P. I hate that the owner said it was the best Jags team ever assembled. Like, I'm over it. You're the Jags. Like, I can't do it.
All right, let me take a quick break. Bram, why don't you show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. There is a truism in the NFL, and I believe in it. There's a 24-hour rule. Good or bad, you got to get over it. You got to move on. In the case of Washington, it was going to be hard because they had a, all-time thing occur last week. And let's see how the hangover is this week. The Bears didn't. The Bears spent the entire week talking about that game. So much so that the players called out their coaches openly. And so did Caleb's dad. He used a clip of Joe Witt with accountability for what he said he did wrong in the Chicago game and quote tweeted it and said, real coaches responsibility, accountability. Oh, so this is going to obviously going to unravel. Like it is. If you had any doubt in your mind, was that their season and is it over? It's this one, and it will only be validated this week when they lose to the Cardinals, because this is a car wreck game. They kind of need to win it. I think they kind of should. I'm not discounting Arizona. I don't think they're bad. They've been very competitive. They just won in Miami. They've already beaten the 49ers. Like, don't discount these dudes. But this is the one where Chicago needs to bounce back. And I don't think they're going to, because they've clearly unraveled at the seams.
The Cardinals are, I like to call them two-faced. They flip a coin, and then we're going to find out what team we get that day, because they look really good week to week or really bad week to week. And we don't know what version we're going to get. I think they're favored by like 1.5, maybe 2.5 against Chicago. On the Bears, this one is one that we predicted. We knew that his dad was a little outspoken, and we were kind of like, man, even though we love him, we know we could get one of these. And the fact that we are week 9, and we already have the drama from his dad, once again, we can kind of just be thankful we have our guy and just say, we don't have to deal with that anymore. We've done that before. We have ridden in that rodeo before, and we do not like it. Have fun getting on that ride, Bears fans, because we don't have to do that right now.
I preface everything I say about Caleb Williams with, I like him. I'm rooting for him. He's one of us.
Me too.
But I've seen this before, and respectfully, Caleb's dad, after 3 quarters, I read a sponsored read that your son was 3 of 11 for 33 yards passing. So, yeah, he made a couple real nice plays in the fourth quarter. But really? You think this is the week to dump on the coaches? Is it?
Right.
Just, piece of advice from a person who covers league very, very, very closely and is rooting for your son, by the way.
Right.
Let's see. Game of the day is going to be Lions-Packers. I hope Jordan Love's okay because that obviously changes the whole dynamic of the whole thing. This is potentially NFC Championship preview. If Jordan Love is not okay and the Packers kind of slip the wrong way a little bit, opening for the Eagles or Commanders or other teams to kind of slip up closer to the Lions, I think the Lions proved this week they are the best team in the NFC, and I think they're going to beat Green Bay.
Yeah, I think Lions are just the hottest team in the league right now in terms of how they're just killing teams. I think we talked about it on Monday, how Goff had 85 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, just like a ridiculous line for someone like him. Packers seem to be just a little bit too banged up. Whether Love plays or not on this one, I'm taking Lions here. Here's the thing, too, with the Lions. Dan Campbell likes to take things personally, and I feel like he's going to take all these Packers matchups personally, which means the Lions are going to score like 40 points. So, yeah, give me Detroit all day here.
Let's see. The Rams could start a rebirth rise if they win over Seattle, because obviously that division is very much up for grabs for literally everybody because nobody's taking control of it. They're all sitting around 500. I think the Rams are going to win. Seattle has been very, very inconsistent and hard to figure this year. I thought the hiring of that coach was a really, really, really good one. They're very up and down. Some weeks their offense doesn't show up. Some weeks their offense is unstoppable. Some weeks their defense starts to look closer to that Baltimore defense. Some weeks you could score a bazillion points on them. They're very, very hard to predict. And for the Rams, we've seen McVay do this a million times. If they win this week, they're basically in line to take a run at the division. They get Miami, New England, Philly, and the Saints over the next 4 weeks. That screams 3-1 minimum over that because the Eagles game is in Los Angeles. So that it screams 3-1. So McVay's team is going to take off here if they beat Seattle on Sunday.
I'll continue with what I call Seattle. They're West Coast Saints. So I don't trust them. I don't know what team's going to show up. I know the Rams have been pretty good as of late. Yeah, give me the Rams on this one.
Then Sunday night, we got Flacco time in Minnehaha as Joe Flacco. Where's my boy Stavros? Where's he at on all this?
Terrible
Chiron.
Think
about him turning around multiple franchises now. I'd love to hear his take on all of that.
Stavros just becomes a Flacco guy, not a Ravens guy. That'd be pretty funny, actually.
That's pretty good. Colts, Vikings. I mean, the correction of the Vikings being best team in the NFC, that made no sense. So them losing a couple games to get them at least back to the pack makes sense to me. Will they lose to Indy? I mean, Indy's way better with Flacco at quarterback right now. I think they're a well-coached team, too. They're kind of in games. This is in Minnesota, right?
I don't remember. You gotta look that up.
Give me this one is this one's in Minnesota. Give me the Vikings. Close game, though. 27-24.
Close game. Vikings defense has been pretty clutch all year. They'll win a close one, 27-23.
All right, before we go, I am aware the Wizards are 2-2, and I am aware they're in Mexico. So, Ted, I know I haven't spoken of your team. I haven't spoken of your team because your leadership told me they're going to be terrible and that all I was going to see is glimpses of some future that is an undetermined amount of time to get to that future. And therefore, at least this time of year, and we're on our own little wild ride over here, I'm kind of out. But I'm just telling you, I'm aware that you're 2-2, you beat the Hawks twice, and you're in Mexico. So I'm just pointing that out. I'm aware.
Our guy, Troy Halliburton, had a tweet yesterday that I almost sent to you, but I figured I would just drop it if you talked about the Wizards. It's all starting to make sense, the branding of what they're talking about this rebuild. You're gonna love this. Remember in the John Wall trade, they traded him to Houston, but they needed the Knicks to play ball with a little bit with some draft picks or whatever. Did you know next year they have a top 10 protected first round pick to go to the Knicks? That's probably why they traded Denny, because they need to get a top 10 pick to not give it to the Knicks. Did you know about that?
No, and this now makes sense because the Denny trade made no sense. When they tried to pitch this, he's not on the timeline. I'm like, he's 13 years old. What are you talking about?
So that's the first one. I'm like, oh, so you have to suck to get into the top 10 to not give the Knicks that pick. Oh, we're not done yet. In 26, it's a top 8 protected pick. So they're actually trying to be bad to not give the Knicks those 2 picks is basically what Troy was alluding to. And I have to agree with him. We couldn't figure out, why are they telling us, hey, lock away some of those memories of Bilal because it's going to pay off in the future. I couldn't figure out what it was. That's what it is. They are not trying to compete, mainly to make sure they don't give the Knicks those draft picks. So here we are.
Trust the process, I guess.
Which, by the way, it's not Winger and Co.'s fault. It's, that was Grunfeld and, Brooks and whoever was there at the time. So or your boy Tommy. I don't know which one it was. But yeah, not great, Bob, for that one.
Last one. Oh, the rebirth is on. Ooh, I'm getting the tingly feeling too. I mean, I was trick-or-treating last night, but paying attention, and the Caps lit up another team. They're scored a ton of goals. I know Montreal's probably not very good, but I don't care. Like, this is back-to-back nights where they scored 11 goals, and the Rangers game, they could have had 9. Like, Shesterkin made 3 crazy saves. They could have had 9 against him. So the Juju's good here early in the season for the old Capitals.
Last night, it was more of the same, too. Connor McMichael was the best player on the ice. Probably should have had 2 or 3 goals, but they were good enough to stop them. Ovechkin chipped in with a goal of his own again. So he's all of a sudden, on a little bit of a hot streak, in the first month of the season. So you love to see that. And look, it's up and down the lineup. It's Protas playing really well. It's McMichael playing really well. Ovi, like I said, chipped in too. Your boy Tom Wilson got back on the goal scoring sheet. It's up and down the lineup right now. It's. I told you 2 weeks ago, the magic feeling was kind of there, and now it's starting to go a little bit. Let's see what they do this weekend. They've got Columbus on Saturday here, who they should beat. But then Sunday, they get their first matchup against the Hurricanes. And I know it's the back half of a back-to-back, but that should be your first kind of litmus test of let's see how they hang with this team, because Carolina has had no problem killing them in the past couple of years.
Not just
there. So, but both of these games, it's a little weird. They have back-to-back 5 o'clock puck drops. So it's not like it's this crazy travel schedule or whatever. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I cringed at that too. So them playing Carolina on Sunday, depending on what happens on Saturday, that's my litmus test of let's see what this team's really got, because Carolina loves to play them. So let's see what happens.
All right, real quick too, Go Spirit, last regular season game tomorrow night, North Carolina, when they get the 2 seed as they enter the playoffs. Loss will depend on results. They could be as low as the 4. They'll host a game no matter what in the quarterfinals, but I'd rather be the 2 than the 4. So hopefully they win this weekend. We'll see.
That's right. Yep.
All right, everybody. See you on Monday. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.